Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 82 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, absolutely buzzing to have the Premier League back after England's very tepid performances during the international break, and Barry's sweating on Wales tonight already.
No chance. To be fair, we've got to wait. Armenia's going to do something at Croatia, so they did it us over, but it was Wales, aren't they?
Even if you win,
we can get playoffs. I think it's something like Ukraine and someone. If we win that, we play Poland or Estonia in the final. So
that's a chance. There's a chance still.
Slim, but yeah,
slim. Well, that's how Barry's feeling, and I've got Barry Stokes with me today as well as Scott Williams. Scott, how are you feeling today ahead of the big game against Southport tonight?
Confident, mate. No, honestly, we're an animal at home. It's our waveform when everyone, wants to beat us. But no, we'll win tonight. We'll go top of the league tonight. Watch this space.
Love it.
Sound like an Aston Villa fan, there. You're amazing at home and they're not so good away.
Well, yeah, we're not great away.
Well, tough places to go. Bobbly pitches, mate. That's what it is. Bobbly pitches. You used to much better quality. That's what it is. Well, thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining us this week. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, on P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And also, don't forget to give us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts from, and like our YouTube video or subscribe to our channel.
I just want to point out this is literally the first time I've looked at my team. Obviously, in like 2 weeks or whatever. all my team are playing like the top 5 teams.
Yeah, could be a shout for a free hit. To be fair.
This is horrible. Look at this. Jesus, Archer's getting a start, isn't he?
It's one of those where he's definitely the rotation. Well, this week we'll touch on it straight away. City play Liverpool, Newcastle play Chelsea, Villa play Spurs. So that's going to be one. And if anyone's got like Mbumo still in their team or Flecken, then Arsenal play Brentford. So it isn't exactly like the easiest week, which is why we're going to spend a bit of time focusing on some of the teams who have got good fixture runs over the next 3 game weeks. Now, for you YouTube watchers, you'll see on the graphic in front of you already, we've got Fulham, who have got a really good run of fixtures, 4 excellent home fixtures, with 2 very tough away ones, Liverpool and Newcastle away in between, but 4 really good home fixtures against, really good against Wolves isn't really good, but it's good. Wolves, Nottingham Forest, West Ham and Burnley. So home games for them there, and an away game against Bournemouth. So good fixtures next 5 of the next 7. Crystal Palace, who have got 3 good fixtures now, Luton away. West Ham away should never be a green, really, but then Bournemouth at home. So 2 really good ones in the next 3 in particular. Then we've got Wolves, who have got a good run. What have they got? 6 of the next 8 are good fixtures for them. Fulham, then they've got Arsenal away. Burnley at home, Forest at home, West Ham away. Chelsea at home, Brentford away, and Everton at home. So, good fixtures in there, some good ones. West Ham a good run as well, as we've touched on quite a few times on the podcast already. Bournemouth, Sheffield United away, Villa at home. We've just talked about Villa being away, not being as good. Crystal Palace, Man United, who are just apparently an easy team to play against still in everyone's eyes, even though they're the informed team in the league. Love that stuff. Terrible. Luton at home, Forest away, and then Fulham at home. So, yeah, some good runs there, and then we will pay a bit of courtesy to the teams in the bottom half of the league. Baz, you said Bowen's definitely out for the weekend? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he's gone to see a specialist, and said on TalkSport earlier that he's definitely going to miss the Burnley game.
There'll be snippets of team news like that all week, so pay attention to that, everybody, and hold your transfers till later, because there'll be people that have missed international break as usual who'll be flagged, and actually they should be fine for the weekend. Haaland was one of them. Wait for the team news.
Onana's got a shoulder injury as well, so
well, there you go. If everyone's still got Onana, which some people do have. Again, gotta just pay attention to this. So hold your transfers until as late as you possibly can do this week. Should we start with our team focus, lads? Shall we start with Fulham, because I feel like last time's manager of the week, James definitely deserves us to start with Fulham this week.
He's been loving this, by the way. He's probably hogged this manager of the week. It's a great time to get manager of the week, isn't it? going into an international break.
That's why I was so good at the Palmer got the penalty, because I'd have been manager of the week for 2 weeks. I was like, it would have been a great feeling.
At least you're over it.
Nah, I'm not yet. 99 points. God, I'd take 99 points every week. That'd be lovely. I don't think there's going to be many 99 points hanging around this week with those fixtures. So Fulham, let's have a look at their players. Anyone stood out for you lads in terms of eye test for Fulham before we get into the specifics of the attacking players today?
Willian.
Willian.
Yeah, William for me as well.
Shall we see how he stacks up in terms of statistics? The top scoring Fulham player so far this season is Leno, quite far ahead, 48 points. In terms of we'll have a look at their defensive statistics in a bit. Let's talk about attackers first. Andreas Pereira up there with 34. Then we've got Tim Ream with 34 as well. Dick Cordova-Reid with 32, a surprising person up there, I think, with 32 points, considering what you'd expect at the beginning of the season, returns on points. Willian and Palhinha round off the group of people that seem to be getting a half-decent amount of points total. Their issue has been goals this season, really, Fulham, would you not say? They've deckled over Reed and João Palhinha, so a player that has only played 614 minutes so far this season, has got 2 goals. And João Palhinha, who is their holding midfielder, has got 2 goals. They're the only players to score more than 1. Willian with 1 goal, 1 assist. I think the
thing for me with Willian is it's the last couple of game weeks have started looking good again. So like he's not, his stats are exactly mind blowing there. But on the eye test, he's been looking really, really good. I say the eye test. One of the games I listened to on the radio, it was like the fixture game, and it was just William the whole time. I don't know if he played Chelsea in there at all. Did they play Chelsea recently?
They've had a few tough fixtures, haven't they?
Yeah, I think he looked pretty good against Chelsea as well. So he would be the one that I would want to get in, because he's going to play, and he's going to be exciting to watch, and he can do anything at any point. So he would be the one. Just on Andres Pereira.
Yeah.
Do you think people are not that bothered just because they think he was so cheap last year? They're like, I don't want to pay 5.4 million. Got him for like 4 million last year or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was everyone's £4.5 million midfielder last year, wasn't he, Andreas Pereira? There's definitely a little bit of it, because then the problem is he falls into a bracket with a bunch of other 5.5s. It'd be like Anthony Gordon but players like that. He's just competing with other people that are delivering a really high amount of points compared to him. That's the issue.
It was an assist machine, wasn't it, with Mitrovic, wasn't it? They had a good relationship, and obviously they haven't got Mitrovic now. So, and obviously the assists back that up. I think he's got 2 assists and 1 goal. So, yeah, it's as you mentioned, struggling creativity wise. Fulham's not great, but defensively they look good, but not sound. But obviously it is what it is, isn't it? It's Fulham. It's not. They scrape out games, and if Palhinha plays well, then they usually defend well. So,
what I will say about Fulham is that the fixtures that they've had so far. I need to wait for this to go off the top of the screen, because I want to click back on the fixtures that they've had. There you go. They've had a really tough run of fixtures to start this season, right? They managed to beat Everton away, game week 1, which was tough. Then they have lost to Brentford, drawn with Arsenal, which was that was an interesting game. So they probably should have won that. Lost to Man City, but they beat Luton. They drew away with Palace, lost to Chelsea, beat Sheffield United, lost to Spurs, drew with Brighton away, lost to Man United, and lost to Villa. They've kind of won and drawn the games you'd expect them to, and lost all the ones that you'd expect them to as well. So I'm interested to see how they perform against, Wolves at home, Forest at home, West Ham at home, Burnley at home, Bournemouth away. Like, I think they stand a chance of returning some points of some description. It's just whether João Palhinha is suspended this week, so unlikely to play. He's out until the Liverpool away game, so you wouldn't want to buy him until probably game week 15 anyway. If you did want to get him, but you probably won't anyway. it's now thinking about, do we think about an attacker or do we think about a defender? So if we have a look at their defensive stats, in terms of goals conceded this season, they've conceded 20, which is the same amount as Wolves, less than Brighton and Luton, but they have conceded more than the likes of Forest, Brentford, and Everton. Again, I think that's down to some of the fixtures. Any of the defenders, lads, that you'd look at before we move on to the next team, or is potentially Leno an option?
What one I would look at is Ream, not because I was playing, just because he had a massive go at his fellow international colleague last night. I don't know if anyone saw that.
Dest?
Yeah, Dest. I think he's Barcelona, isn't he? He got 2 stupid yellow cards, and then so Tim Ream had a right go at him. So that's why I would be looking at him. I feel like he's pumped up already for this game week. So red card or goal incoming for Ream.
Oh, his red card shout of the week again.
It's back.
Red card shout of the week. He's the only defender to score a goal. He's got 34 points. He's the top returning defender, 4.5 million. Leno with 4.7 million. He's clearly the one who's returned the most points. In terms of their expected goals conceded, it's 22.5. They conceded 20. They've kept 3 clean sheets, which is actually quite good compared to the average. Like Palace have got 5, Arsenal 5. So I think the long story short is maybe a Willian or an Andreas Pereira. If not, then a Leno or a Ream.
I think Castagna deserves a shout as well.
Oh, you love Castagna, don't you? Baz has got to get a Castagna shout in. Right, go on. Sell Castagna to me.
It just looks like he goes forward a lot and he's in the opponent's box quite a bit and nothing's happened for him yet. I think it might be coming in, especially with the fixtures that are coming as well. So, and obviously, I think he got 2 assists or something like that for Belgium in international. So, obviously, I know Belgian players obviously technically better than Fulham players. No offense to Fulham, but it is what it is. So for me, I just like Castagna for that reason with the fixtures going forward. And he's a fullback, and I don't really like centre halves.
We got Robinson on the other side. Is Robinson on the other side? Robinson on the other side, isn't he?
Yeah, he's at left.
Yeah, so
he had a shocker before international, didn't he?
He did have a shocker. In terms of statistics, they're very equal in terms of like expected assists and stuff like that. And he's 4.4, and 4.5. So yeah, don't blame them either. Palace. Let's do that. Let's have a look. Let's start with defenders on Crystal Palace, because in terms of clean sheets so far this season, they are equal top with Newcastle and Arsenal. So they've kept 5 clean sheets so far this season. They have one of the top performing goalkeepers in the league in terms of points for FPL of Johnston. They've got Anderson with 60 points as a defender so far. We obviously discussed this briefly about value in like Mitchell's compared to your Andersons, but is getting a Palace defender in a relatively obvious move with Luton and Bournemouth coming up in the next 2? If you
feels like the right thing to do. Feels like a fairly safe bet. I feel like any team with Roy Hodgson as a manager going for a defensive asset when they've got a nice run is safe. I like Mitchell just because he's quite exciting. But equally, we've seen like Anderson can smash a ball 60 yards and put someone in as well. He has got that part of his game. Obviously a threat from corners. And Gahey, you're looking like a defender, which is first choice for England now. So again, probably riding high on that still, even though they won the best 2 performances. Sam Johnson, very solid goalkeeping now in the Premier League. Learned everything he knew about playing, obviously at Scunthorpe United. But for me, if I was to go for one, just because again, I like those kind of exciting attacking fullbacks, it would be Mitchell for me.
Very similar in terms of XGI to Anderson. Mitchell and Anderson have both got 1 assist each. Anderson's got 2 goals. Mitchell's got 1. They seem like the 2 outstanding defensive picks. And if you wanted to go for Johnston, I mean, I've got Johnston at the moment. I'm really happy with him for the next couple of game weeks. Baz, anything to add on that before we move on to the midfield and forward options?
No, I think Scott's covered it well.
Edouard top in terms of the points achieved so far this season from strikers, 46 points, 5 goals and no assists. Then Jordan Ayew with 1 goal and 3 assists, the unsung hero of Crystal Palace, the man that you'll never buy in FPL, but just love him. Great rate. I've just got to rate him. Delivers all the time.
Mr. Draft.
Do you know what I realised? I found out this week. His dad was Adiba Pele, an absolute, icon in African football. Didn't know that.
Neither did I. There he is. Scotty with the fact. He needs more of these facts every week on the podcast because I didn't know that.
He's a fact controller.
Hey, here he is. And then we've got Eze. So in terms of points per 90 for midfielders, obviously I need to hide low minutes here, don't I? Some interesting numbers. Saying that, I've just trumped my own stat. Points per 90 so far this minute. Edouard's actually outperforming Eze by 0.18 in terms of points per 90. I think that'll change somehow moving forward. Eze at 6.1. Anyone else to consider from their attack? Would you look at Edouard at 5.5 as a third striker? Man, and Scott's already cringing.
I said that last time, didn't I? Said it, Edouard, and you was like, "Sell me on Edouard." Then you got to mind Elise's coming back from injury as well, so obviously he'd be a good shout to bring in. He's a very good differential as well. He's like 0.1% owned as well. So
it's like because he's injured.
It was injured. Obviously, he's just come back. So
all right,
he's going to differential draft straight away for us this week at 0.1% owned. I think. Is it me first this week?
No, we'll get to who won last soon enough. It's all right, lads.
Yeah. Great. I think I edged it by a point. So we've got yes. So we're looking at these guys, midfielders. I mean, Eze at 6.1 sticks out like not a sore thumb because that makes it look like a negative. But for example, if you're looking at someone like Bowen, who's injured this week, or we agreed on that, and then potentially a Mitchell as a defender, if not Johnson as a keeper.
Nice, and Eze for me. I'll be getting him in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, should got him last week. But there you go, Bruno Fernandes. Yes, so let's move on to the next teams that we're going to talk about on our focus, which is one of my second teams for this season. It's Wolves, and it's just a Gary O'Neill factor for me. And how he just deserved more. So Fulham away and then Arsenal away next two. So not the easiest games in the world, but Fulham away is a decent one. Then Burnley at home and Forest at home. West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Brentford away, then Everton at home. So a decent run of fixtures. Anyone stood out for you so far this season at Wolves, Scott?
Yes. Thanks for showing me that. Cunha. I couldn't remember his name. Mateus Cunha.
You like Cunha, don't you? You couldn't remember him last week. For anyone who's who engaged with our socials, you'll have heard Scott trying to pick Cunha.
Yeah, Cunha remember it. Nah, it didn't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes you don't. You've just got to go for it. Cunha.
Well, to be fair, he got it right. He tried to pick two attackers.
Yeah. It's gone well. I've been practicing him. Cunha, he's looked technically fantastic. He's looked really, really good. He's looked like he's been a good replacement in that kind of technical attacking end of the field for Nunez. There we go. I remember his name. It looks like he's really filled in well there. I'll let Baz talk about Hwang now.
A touch upon on Cunha as well. He reminds me of like Firmino. He drops a bit too much deep for a number 9, but that obviously helps Hwang and Neto to bomb forward and overlap. So Hwang, he's found some new form. He's looking a new player. Obviously, the relationship he's got with Neto as well, because he's always on the end of his crosses near enough. So. And obviously Neto's 75% chance of playing, or 50%, sorry. Yeah. So maybe not this week, but you probably want to be getting him in for the game week 15 because you won't probably be bringing him in for the Arsenal fixture. But yeah, I think Hwang, Neto, and Cunha are the guys that look really good.
They're showing some great value here. So Chan here, Hwang, Wang, 5.5 with their top point scorer so far this season, with 56 at 5.5 million. Neto at 5.6. He's got 1 goal and he's got 8 fantasy assists already this season. I mean, that's crazy numbers, really.
That's the league.
It's right up there, isn't it? I mean, I'll have to double check if it's the best of the league, but that's right up there. I mean, Hwang's got 6 goals. So they're good options. Cunha with 2 goals and 2 assists, being relatively consistent. Again, he's 12 starts. These guys he's nailed on for as a starter up top. I think it's Hwang and then everyone else has got 2. Yeah. So then Kalajic has got 2 goals. Lamina obviously with 2 goals now after his goal, the winner against Spurs. Yeah, some decent options in there, really. Especially for a 5th midfielder, I think you've got some players. Who would you go for between? Let's just say Neto's fit. Hwang or Neto, Baz? 1 word answer.
Neto.
Scott?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, same. Neto or Cunha as your 3rd striker for Cunha? Who would you be looking at if you got a Wolves player to game?
If I was to take someone out, did you say?
No, put one in. Cunha or Neto?
I would go Cunha.
3rd striker, Scott, Cunha. What do you think, Scott? Baz?
I'd have Neto, but obviously I know Neto's a midfielder and Cunha's a forward.
Yeah.
Cunha or Edward?
Ooh, interesting. I think with the longer run of fixtures coming up between the 2 teams, I think that you'd get a bit more longevity out of Cunha than you would out of Edward for a good rotation with the fixtures that are coming up. So I think I'd go for Cunha over Edward. I also don't want to use another transfer up on a 3rd striker. So again, if I was wildcarding this week and I wanted a 3rd striker that had a little bit more money in him than like an Archer, for an example, and you were giving me that option, it would be just Cunha, I think. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I'd go with Cunha. I don't really rate Edward.
Baz is all in on Edward, isn't he?
Yeah,
Edward for me as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are some debates here, some interesting choices that and anything could pay off. Let's talk about West Ham briefly, because if Jared is injured, then we need to talk about who we're going to go for instead of him. So he is by far the top scoring points man for West Ham this season, 75 points. Ward-Prowse 54, quite clearly second as well. Then you've got Souček and Areola. Oh, just before we shift onto this, sorry, I've skipped over Wolves defensively. They haven't kept 1 clean sheet this season, and I just didn't see anybody at the back that I would want to really invest in, because I think Jose Sar's a bit overpriced as a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else defensively for Wolves before we just move on to West Ham? Sorry, I've skipped over that as the host here.
You've got basically the same price players with Wolves defensively to Palace, and who are you going to pick over that?
Yeah, that's kind of why I kind of moved on from it quite quickly. I just didn't see anybody that I thought, we need to get them in. Yes, so Ward-Prowse 6.1 million. Are we with the fixtures? Let me just read out fixtures for West Ham quickly. Burnley away, Palace at home, Spurs away, Fulham away, and Wolves at home. If you've got Bowen right now, and it turns out he's injured for a little while, do any of those players, the Ward-Prowse, the Kudos, for an example, who are the players that you would look at generally, do you think you'd substitute Bowen out for any of them? Or do you think it's an opportunity potentially to move away from West Ham and you don't want to invest in any of the other attackers without without Bowen? Sorry, Scott. What do you think?
I'd move away because I'd want Ward-Prowse in my team because I know Bowen would probably get on the end of like stuff. And if Bowen's not there, they're really missing that goal scoring threat. Antonio is so patchy; he'll do it for a couple of games and he'll go on a podcast for like the next 4 months. So they just haven't gotten enough clinic. You haven't got enough goals in a team without Bowen in there. I will say about Ward-Prowse, I don't know who they played. The last game I watched, he was brilliant. He was so good in that game. Like his set pieces are the best in the league. Like was it Forest? Yeah, brilliant. He was so good in that game. Like he ended up getting 11 points, 2 assists. He could have got more. I'm pretty sure he had more chances to get like goals from his like assists and that. He would be the one if they had, even if they had like an Antonio that's 1 and 2 kind of player. I would then be tempted to get him in, but they just haven't got like they're relying on people like Socek. We know he's had moments in the past. There was last season, the season before, where he went on a mad run for a few games, but I don't think there's enough goals knocking around that team to warrant getting him in or Kudos, because Kudos looks exciting, but I think JWP at the minute is more solid in returns he would get you. But I would go none of them and go Eze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said. Kudos at the moment is one of those players that just needs refining. You know, you can tell he looks like a good player, but he just needs to calm down, take a few less touches, pass and move it a little bit more, and then do the fancy stuff when it's needed a little bit more. I think he looks like he could be really good, but he's just not quite at that level. Ward-Prowse consistency. I mean, he's 5 assists so far this season. He gets 5, 7, 8, a few 4s in there. He tends to get 150, 140. I mean, I've said this before on the podcast, 150, 100 odd points. We're 11 games into the season. He's on 54 points already. So he looks like he's going to be on for one of his better seasons if he carries on like it is. He'll probably get 170, 180. But yeah, but Baz, anything to what do you think? Bowen, sideways move to another West Ham player or move away?
I probably would go like as Scott mentioned, Eze. But obviously shout out to Souček. I think he's on one of them runs at the moment. He scored back-to-back for Czech Republic. I'm sure he scored obviously against Forest, so he scored 3 and 3. And against Burnley, aren't they playing away? So
yeah.
And how expansive Burnley are as well. And he runs from deep because he's got obviously the holder there now, because Souček used to be the holder with Rice. And I think Moyes has let him go a bit box to boxy, and I think it suits him. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I'd go Eze. But I thought he deserved a shout because I was kicking myself that I didn't get him in and I got Hudson-Odoi instead.
Yeah. Well, he's got double figures in him, and he had 10 goals a couple of seasons ago. Souček, he can deliver on that. Defensively, let's just. Sorry, I'm erming a lot on this podcast because I'm flicking between screens. Let's have a look at goals conceded. So West Ham, I know they just haven't done very well. Yeah, so they're equal 4th worst for goals conceded this season. Only Bournemouth, Burnley, and Sheffield United have conceded more goals than them, which is a bit unlike a Moyes team. Do you not think? Same amount of goals conceded as Luton and one more than Brighton. Just doesn't appeal to you as a different one. Only 1 clean sheet this season.
Not going anywhere near that defence. Like when I watched them, they've looked so vulnerable at the back.
Yeah, it's just a bit un-Moisey, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will have Areola. So are you really going to do 2 things? Are you really going to get a keeper, do a transfer on a keeper? No. Are you really going to double up on the defence? No. So I think a lot of people will be staying away.
It's a good point you've raised, actually, because with Turner now being dropped, most likely from Nottingham Forest, Areola is the keeper that a lot of people will look to over the 4 of the next 5 game weeks. You need to look at what other goalkeeper you're going to move to from Turner, really, because that is going to start costing you points over a longer period of time. So it's the shift to Johnston's fixtures don't really rotate that well with him. You need to look at a goalkeeper really who's got good fixtures for maybe game week 18 onwards. So you're looking at maybe Flecken. I know he has blanks in 18, but he has decent fixtures from 19. Yeah, just keep a look on who you're gonna have. Yeah, David Raya's obviously got some good fixtures there, hasn't he? It's not that expensive. But it's a good point that Scott. Bournemouth, Sheffield United away, Villa at home, Palace away, Man United away, Luton at home, Forest away, Fulham at home. So pretty decent run for Bournemouth. Anyone stood out for you there, Baz?
Big Bad Dom Solanke.
Here he is.
Solanke, obviously, like I keep saying, when he plays well, Bournemouth play well, and obviously, I don't think Billing played other week as well, and he stepped up as well, and it was literally the main man. So, but he had a good working relationship with Semenyo. They both knew exactly where he was, so he can replace Billing for Semenyo on that front, and obviously he is a cheap attacker as well. So that could be a potential option if you didn't fancy an Archer cheap attacker. You could look at Semenyo. But I think Solanke is the man really for Bournemouth.
6.4 mil and 3.6% owned, so pretty decent little differential in there maybe. Scott, I will ask you about Solanke, and with the fixtures that Aston Villa have, they've also got Bournemouth away, but they've got 3 of their next 4 are really tough against Spurs, City, and Arsenal. Would you sell Watkins for maybe a Solanke?
Essentially, yeah. Watkins has been a fraud, hasn't he? For me and any others I brought him in.
Why'd you buy him?
You should have stopped him. I know, I really did jinx him. Solanke was brilliant against Newcastle. He was so good. Like he was doing everything. He was holding the ball up. He was bringing others into play. He looked so confident taking players on. He's looking more and more like, a pretty solid Premier League striker. He's one of those that we thought for a lot of years. He'd absolutely teared up the Championship. Couldn't do it in the Prem. Teared up. So he is looking good. And do you know what? Yeah, like I don't mind that shout at all. I feel like that's obviously beating Burnley was a massive win for Bournemouth. City. And then that Newcastle game, I feel like the last, those 2 out of the last 3 games, it's going to be a real turnaround for them, especially they'll have a bit of, the Everton news is amazing for them as well. So I can see them going on a little run now and kind of maybe even pulling away and doing what we thought they might have done. Well, me and you didn't, Al. We thought to get relegated, I think. But others thought they might have done at the start of the season. So I don't think it's a bad shout. And it's one I am thinking about, if I'm honest.
It's Gary O'Neill justice. That's the only reason I want him down. Does it feel though? Jokes aside on that one, does it feel like Bournemouth are potentially starting to click a little bit more under this new manager, or did they just beat Burnley, then got beat by City, and then beat a absolutely annihilated Newcastle team with injuries? So are we reading into it too much, Baz, or are we starting to see a slight click?
Defensively for Newcastle, though, they had near enough the proper defence, didn't they? With Shaw and Trippier, you think they'll be good enough to do it? And obviously, I think they made a mistake playing. They started Lewis Hall, didn't they? Not Livramento. I think they should have started Livramento in that game. And obviously Pope's a really good goalkeeper, and he put him to the sword. To be fair, but. Yeah, you're probably right. To be honest, we might be reading in too much. So yeah, probably have to agree. Wait and see. I think on Bournemouth.
I think they won 2-0 against Newcastle. It could have been more. They were brilliant. And Lewis Hall. He played well against Champions League. Where they played? Dortmund. He did play well, but Livramento played really well in that game. So I'm surprised. I think he got hooked at half time, didn't he, Lewis Hall?
Yeah,
so I think they will be slightly turning the corner. And like I say, I think they have performed all right in games this season, but just not had the results. There was a couple of games they would have considered real last-minute goals as well.
Yeah.
But that run of fixtures is massive for them, because if they lose all them, they're in real trouble, and the manager could be gone.
Yeah, I agree. Just as well, we'll move on from them now, but just keep an eye on billing, because once they're, I was listening to Clash of Correspondents on Planet FPL, because I really enjoy listening to the Clash of the Correspondents, because you get a bit more of an in-depth view on each team specifically, and it's quite an easy listen to, because it's a fan who knows a lot about that team, have their own opinions talking about, obviously that team. And they've just said, look, as soon as we get a little bit more, maybe one of our defensive midfielders back or whatever, like Billing will be given a bit of a freer role. And the other player as well, we have to mention just is Sinistera, because again, just to keep an eye on these players, like he hasn't had much time back from injury, but could be somebody that ends up performing half decently well. He can deliver 5.5 mil, good value, aren't they? So it's not a bad thing to do that. Scott, Cunha or Solanke?
Solanke.
Baz, Edouard or Solanke?
Solanke.
Yeah, Solanke for me over Cunha, who is my other pick. Should we do? Let's. Anyone going to buy any Burnley players? They've got a really good run of fixtures. Baz, over to you.
No, I've got Taylor, and that's it.
Scott, anybody?
Might bring Company in. Good defender, isn't he?
Probably do. I mean, they've probably got one of the best fixture runs. I mean, they haven't. Like West Ham at home, Sheffield United at home, Wolves away, Brighton, Everton, Fulham. They've got a good run of fixtures. So, they're not. Don't worry about them. Don't buy them. So just don't. Yeah, don't worry about them too much. If a lot of people be wild carding this week who haven't wild carded already, even with the Liverpool at home, Spurs at home, Villa away games, I assume because Haaland seems to be scoring against anybody, you're all putting Haaland in a wild card team. What two strikers? I'll come to you first, Baz. What two strikers are you putting with him on a wild card team right now? If you are pressing that button, Are we thinking Solanke and Edouard? Are you?
Yeah, I'm thinking
Villa?
that. I'm trying to talk myself out of it, to be honest.
Would you stick with an Archer as a cheap one and just go for one of the others? Go for Haaland, Solanke, and Archer, and then invest more money in the midfield. This would be a debate. Or would you stick with Watkins? I think we're pretty much all at this point on this podcast thinking cashing in. I think we're all pretty much out thinking that with Watkins, but.
I think because of Sheffield United's half decent fixtures, and then the next two, I'd probably say keep Archer.
Bournemouth at home, Burnley away for pod listeners.
Yeah, because I'll be thinking, because I'm going to start Archer this week, because as Scott touched upon earlier, near enough everyone's playing everyone, so it makes it difficult, and that's going to be fun in the differential draft later. So, so with that, I'd stick with Archer and Edouard.
You got an Edouard over. You said Solanke, I think.
I know, but I've just looked at fixtures and I thought, actually, I like Palace's fixtures more, and with Elise and Eze coming back.
Scotty?
I'd stick with Archer, and I would be tempted just to go quite a bit different, to go Darwin Núñez. I know they've got City. But they've got a lovely run after that. And he's looking, I only spoke about him last week, but he's looking really good. I would be real tempted. It would be, I don't know, I'd go out with Solanke and Núñez, to be honest with you. It would depend, obviously, on the rest of my team and what players I'd want in. But if I had the money and I had the other players in that I wanted, I would go Núñez for something a bit different.
Yeah, I think Darwin is a full 1.1 more, I think. So it does make 1.1 million more. So that obviously does make a difference, doesn't it, in terms of
you've got to think as well. Shane Ferguson's injured. He got injured his hamstring, didn't he? And I think with Brighton's fixtures going forward, he looked like a good punt to have in.
I know I made a comment about this last week in terms of signing long-term deals, Eze's, Elise's, Ferguson's, but and saying that they've sort of tied themselves down to the club that they're at to try and get the big fee, and obviously they've got big wage rises from these contracts. But all three of them are injury prone, aren't they? Like Ferguson seems to always have an injury, so I was at first I was talking about this. He backed himself into a corner here. Now the Brighton are going to want a massive fee for him because he's got a longer contract. Actually, like these guys have got to insure themselves for the future, especially the ones who keep getting injured all the time. It's not that silly of a move. And I made a flippant comment about it last week. And on reflection, I think actually maybe it's the right move for all of those players because they're not exactly messy fit play every week, are they? So anyway, differential draft, Baz. I think should we do that?
Yeah, why not? Let's give it a go. So, should we recap the scores from last week?
Let's do it whilst I get the players up.
So, I finished last. I had Johnston in goal, Livramento, Gordon, Kulusevski, and Edward. Scott finished second due to Doku's shocker to midfield.
Well, I needed two teams to not get a yellow card and get over 60 minutes. He didn't do either.
But yeah, so you saw Mikalenko, that was a great shout, and I was like, well, Mikalenko, but it was a great shout. Martinelli, Doku, and Hoyland. And then Alex won with Raya, Dallo, Eze, Kudos, and even Ferguson didn't even play. So yeah.
I was sat there thinking I had 2 players versus Scott's 1 player, and my 2 players combined returned 2 points or 1 point.
1 point.
1 point between my 2 players. I was like, how have I lost? How have I lost from here? And then Doku does what Doku did and ended up winning the week. Unbelievable. Right, lads. Shall we let's get stuck into this, shall we?
So I get first pick.
You do. First pick.
To change, usually I've been last.
I
know.
Usually I'm last. I'm so good at this.
Solanke for me.
I'm straight in for Solanke. What's his ownership, Baz?
3 point something. It was just on screen a minute ago.
Yeah, 3.7. That's it. 3.7.
No, it's me under 5.
There's me trying to bide some time whilst I get my players up.
It's horrible, isn't it?
What's his ownership?
It's very hard, this. Do you know what? I've banged on about him early days. I'm going to go in. I'm going to go for my early under 1%. I'm going to back him. Willian.
I like it with the Willian. I'm going to go for a midfielder over... I'm going to go for my over just under 10%. I'm going to get James Ward-Prowse in at 9.7% owned.
I'm going for Eze.
Easy does it at 3.9%.
Nice. I'm going to go for... I'll go for Martinelli. That's my under 10.
I will go for Edward at 4%.
Don't know what positions I've had.
I'm going for...
Oh, you already lost.
Midfielder. I don't even know.
2 midfielders, mate.
Left.
I'm going for... No, that's who's your pick. Pick two midfielders.
We can only have 2, can't we? Sorry.
Yes, mate.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm picking my goalkeeper now. I'm going for Neto.
Is it me?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
I'm gonna go for Edward.
Just
I know. I didn't back him on the pod, but I'm off for it.
I've just picked him.
Just picked him.
Have you actually? Oh,
yeah.
I'm not even kidding. And I know Solanke's gone. You
when you go for your man who you've been banging on about?
Who? Cunha.
Who? Exactly. Yeah. Who?
Cunha.
Yeah, he's playing Fulham, isn't
he? Yeah, Fulham are good, mate. Who are Everton playing? Man United. Ooh, tempting. Yeah, we'll go. We'll go. Yeah. Cunha.
What, Cunha?
It's my one striker, so I'm going to go defender now.
I'm going to go for McSaw. Scott McTominay, baby. 1.4% owned.
I'm going for Kudos. Kudos.
Wow,
Under 5.
that's ridiculous. That is that. Alex, is it me?
Yeah,
it's
shoe
your
scout.
go.
All right. Well, I'm going to go for a defender, and I'm going to go for. It's probably gone. Sorry if it's gone. I'm going to go for Bazis Castagna.
I don't think either of us have picked defenders yet. So I think
We haven't picked any defender.
Okay, under
Going
one.
for an under 1 again. 2 under 1s.
Oh, have I already had an under 1?
Yeah, will you?
Willie an under 1?
Hmm.
So what have I got? An under 5?
Under 5. All the rest are under 5.
They're tough rules, aren't they? Chelsea got a good game. Ooh. Yeah, we'll go for Reece James. It's exciting, isn't he? Get him in there.
Chelsea got Newcastle away.
Yeah. Get Reece James in there.
Just go for the paper pick. Here he is.
Yeah, I got all of those.
I'm gonna have to go.
He's the voice of the people.
I'm gonna go for Steele because there's just no other goalkeepers, is there really that you want? I'm saying that. Is Foderingham still playing every week?
No.
Yeah, do you know what? I was going to go for Steele, but I'm going to go for big Wes, League One Wes Foderingham because he's under 1%. He's 0.3%. Let's go for Foderingham because he'll play, whereas Steele could probably get dropped for Verbruggen. I can't be bothered with a goalkeeper coin flip again this week.
I'm going for my under 1 defender, 8 Nori.
Ain't no party like an ain't no party.
Go
And
ahead.
you can only have a maximum of 2 from each club, can't you? How many Wolves players have I got?
You got 3 from each club.
3 from each club. You got, yeah, you can have Jose Sarr, mate, because you only need a goalkeeper.
And God, defenders are awful, aren't they? Defender. I will go for. Just, I was going to pick him. I was going to pick Trusty at Sheffield United. I don't think I'm going to pick him. Sheffield United defender.
Yeah, double Sheffield United defence.
Can't be doing with that. Let's go for.
Not picked yet.
Picked Dallo last week. It's just a bit boring. But you know what? Harry Maguire, 2.3% owned. Why not? I think I picked Dallo last week. I think it's rotated this week. But Wan-Bissaka and Reguilon start. So yeah, Harry Maguire.
And that's it. Do you want to read them out?
Yes, please.
So, Alex, you've gone for Foderingham, Maguire, James Ward-Prowse. McTominay and Edward. I've gone for Neto, 8 Nori, Eze, Kudos, and Solanke, and Scott's gone for Sarr, James, Willian, Martinelli, and Cunha.
I will just say really quickly, just on the paper, just as players, obviously not fixtures. Yours is awful, Alex. They're some of the most boring, dull players I think I've ever heard.
I can't believe I've picked them. I've done no prep. I've ended up with one of the worst teams I've ever heard.
They usually do the best. That's what.
As if I've got Foderingham, Maguire, McTominay, Ward. That's terrible.
Maximum pace are about 12 in that team, aren't you? Jeez.
Let's wrap up with fixtures and let's do captains because that's also going to be a fun one, slightly more difficult. So early kickoff deadline is 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 25th of November. We've got Manchester City versus Liverpool as the early kickoff. Both managers will have a nice moan about that. Burnley, West Ham, Luton, Palace, Newcastle, Chelsea, Forest, Brighton, and Sheffield United, Bournemouth are all 3 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday. You can tell it's not been Europe. And then Brentford, Arsenal on BT Sport, now TNT Sports, as the evening kickoff. So Saturday night, this Sky Sports and BT have swapped this week, just so you know, in case you're looking for your game. Super Sunday, Spurs, Villa, Everton, Man United, and we've got Fulham versus Wolves on Monday Night Football at 8 o'clock. Pick the bones out of that, lads. Captains, where are we going? Are we looking at? Because now Bowen's injured, and he was the one that my armband was on against Burnley.
Exactly.
Are we looking at? Luton are not bad at home. Eze,
Luton are too good at home for. I'd play that Shush come back in for me, so I wouldn't be putting it on Eze.
This is it. Man United are rubbish, so you're not going to go for them against Everton, who've just had a 10-point deduction at Goodison Park.
Are we
got a
feeling more
narrative all
average?
over it.
Average score of about 25 this week. Do you reckon?
It's such a tough one to pick the bones out of that I'm
It
probably
8 stays on Haaland for me.
Haaland. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and Salah's record against City is pretty good.
And I
Well,
hate a 12:30 kickoff.
Saka?
Maybe Saka away at Brentford. Yeah. If you've got him.
There's no dead serious. It's going to be very interesting.
I
No,
think
I think
it is.
quite a lot of people are just going to go Haaland, just stick it on Haaland.
Big Dom Solanke, if you bring him in this week at Sheffield United.
Mm.
Do you know what? If there was the way around, maybe, yeah. I just think it's just I don't like that away.
No, it's true.
I think Sheffield United just won as well. I feel like they have.
I'll check.
That Brentford game as well. If it was like a 3 p.m. kickoff, I'd be more. I just think Brentford just seem to always get giddy when like the Sky cameras are there or whatever. TNT cameras.
It's the sort of game that they lose, Arsenal, innit?
I think I'm just going to go Haaland and then just not worry too much about it.
Baz.
I got gambled away from Haaland last time, and it killed me, didn't it? Saka.
I think one of the other shouts is that if like some of the Spurs players are, I mean, is Maddison definitely out? Is he definitely out that game?
Yeah,
Is he out?
I think
So,
I mean, so, yeah.
Like Villa away aren't as good at home. Maybe Son. Yeah. At the moment, I was edging towards Saka, but I think Salah or Haaland are fine. Chelsea have started conceding some goals. Maybe Anthony Gordon. It's it's a tricky one. I think you do a lot worse than to stick it on Haaland at home against Liverpool.
And let's not forget he's not played any internationals, has he? Did he play one?
Yeah, he got
played one and got injured.
One.
Yeah, well, he's had a nice little rest for a week, then, hasn't he? So
he needed it before that run of fixtures as we covered last week. But right, lads, let's wrap up there. And I think you can. The lottery of captaincy is anyone's guess really this week. So thank you ever so much for joining us, everyone that's been listening and tuning in. Don't forget to like our podcast on YouTube if you are watching it. Subscribe if you haven't liked it and you've got this far, or subscribe to our channel. You got this far. What are you doing? Click the buttons. Do it now. Give us 5-star review where you get your podcast from. Apple, Spotify, wherever it might be. Amazon, had a few downloads from on there. And follow us on our social media platforms, UfflePod, UffleP, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Baz, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott, thank you for joining us.
good lad.
And goodbye for now.